Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Sweden, and we're also going to stick to my home county of Skåne here in the very south of the country. We're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel a good few times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last sort of 18 months, 2 years or so, if memory serves me correctly when it comes to time. It doesn't always do that, but I think it's fair to say that this brewery are best known for their big fruity, juicy sours, the Berliner Weisses and Goses and things like this, although they do tend to refer to their beers simply as fruited sours. But if those kind of beer styles are your cup of tea, then this is a fairly new Swedish brewery that you really need to check out. Actually, I've been very impressed with the stuff we've had from them so far. So the beer that we're going to have a look at today is one of their latest releases. It is supposed to be very nice, so I'm curious to see what it has in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to a little place called Arlöv, just to the northeast of Malmö here in Skåne in the south of Sweden, and we're going to have a look at another beer from Elmeleven. So this particular beer is called Worlds That Never Were. It comes in at 7.5% ABV. They're describing it as a fruited sour ale, although it is pretty similar to some of the big juicy Goses and Berliner Weisses that are out there these days normally. But this one contains blackcurrant, blueberry, strawberry and vanilla. So I think it should be pretty nice. But this beer was released as part of the Lokal och Småskaligt assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for December of 2021. And as I've told you in previous reviews, I always like getting new stuff from Elmeleven because they're just, they're just lovely, lovely beers actually. If you like Fermenterna, if you like Duck Pond, the Brewski sours, these kind of things, this is a brewery that is definitely on par with those in my opinion. Morgendagens would be the other one that you could compare these guys to. So check out this brewery if you get the opportunity. This is one that really has impressed me over the last little while. But looking forward to this, let's crack on and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Elmeleven before, and you will no doubt see more added to that list in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is that happens to take your fancy. Do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you would like to review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. And don't forget to check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed, and you will find this beer and other ones in there as well. But let's get on to the brewery notes then and get through the history section of the video. So, Elmeleven then, to tell you a little bit about these guys. Elmeleven, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Arlöv near Malmö, and the company was founded by Anders Kvist. So he started his brewing project a few years ago, back in 2016, and he says that he views his beer as a sort of artistic expression. But his interest in craft beer started when his friend bought him what he called a non-industrial lager, and he was just blown away. This is what beer could actually be. But soon after this, his girlfriend bought him a cheap home brewing kit where you basically add the water, and he just felt that you must be able to brew beer in, you must be able to do it so much better than this basically, and it was this thing that pushed him into home brewing for himself. So he took part in various competitions, and then he joined the -1 or -1, whatever you would call it, the brewing collective, which you can find under the Bishop's Arms in Gustav Adolfs Torg in Malmö. But this was where he actually sold his first commercial beers. But production was very, very small over the last couple of years, only a few thousand litres, but he later started brewing in the Nerd, Chad and Lilla Ölfabriken brewery in Rosengård, and he had several Systembolaget releases throughout 2020. Mainly, they brew these big fruity, juicy sour beers. They have produced a couple of IPAs in the past, but Anders just says he wants to keep trying new things, and he does plan to release a few more different styles in the future. But in March of 2021, having been very successful in the beers that they'd released, it was announced that a new collective called Molecule was going to be founded, and this is going to contain Elmeleven, Nerd and Chad beer, and they've got the new brewery in Arlöv, which starts off with a 1500 litre brew kit. But the name Elmeleven that he uses basically comes from an address that he lived at. He used to live at Almbacksgatan 11, So Alm in English refers to like the tree elm, so he anglicised this a little bit, and this is just something that stuck with him from his home brewing days, and it is quite catchy actually, Elmeleven. But as of December 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 55 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and I think I've reviewed pretty much all of the ones that have been released through Systembolaget bar 1 or 2, so I need to ask Anders if he still has any cans left of the November release that they did. But yeah, that is all I can really tell you about Elmeleven for the moment. A big thank you once again to Anders, who provided me with that information quite a wee while ago. But yeah, he's a lovely, lovely guy, and hopefully we can get him on the channel for a Meet the Brewery segment at some point. I did actually go and film one with him, but my GoPro that I was using before just destroyed the file, so I was really angry about that actually. But now that we have the new phone and it works a lot better, I think we can do that, and we can maybe film it in 4K actually as well, which I think would be really cool. But yeah, that is everything I can tell you about Elmeleven for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and have a look at the beer itself. So as I said to you earlier, this one is a 7.5% fruited sour ale. It comes in with blackcurrant, blueberry, strawberry and vanilla, and I'm pretty sure we haven't had that combination from Elmeleven yet, although it's a bit hard to keep track. But this one contains wheat and oats, so yeah, it is pretty much like some of these big Berliner Weisse fruity gozes sort of things that are going about, but these beers are always really nice, very big flavours. But as you can see, the artwork on this one, as you always get with Elmeleven, is absolutely lovely. But you can see there is the Elmeleven symbol there, the nice little rocket. I'm just seeing if the camera will focus on this. There you go. But yeah, I do like this kind of space concept that Anders uses, and if you meet him, he's quite a tall, red-headed guy, big colourful tattoos on him. You know, he's a big hippie basically, but he's a lovely guy actually, very nice chap. But yeah, you'll see when you see him, you can see exactly where you can see just it's so obvious that this artwork is his, but the artwork that he does for these beers is absolutely beautiful, and he makes a new one himself for every beer. But yeah, awesome stuff actually. It'd be cool if you could put these on the big scale and have them as posters. I think they'd be really nice. But yeah, as we said, this one is called Worlds That Never Were, 7.5% ABV. Plain gold top on the can there. I believe this beer cost me about 50 Swedish kroner, so that's roughly about €5, somewhere in the region of like £4.50 sterling, and I guess in the region of like $6 American as well actually. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. I'm very curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. So let's get it out and we'll have a look at this one. So there we are. Yeah, you always get beautiful colours in these Elmeleven beers. I've been looking forward to this one ever since I got the box from Systembolaget. This is one that I've really been looking forward to, and I was saving this one for a special day, but we'll come back to that in a little minute actually. So yeah, there we go, nicely lined up. So anyway, as you can see, and as you would expect from some of these Elmeleven sours, it's poured with a lovely, beautiful, big, very bright colour. So as you can see, this one has poured with about 1.5 fingers of a frothy. I would say it's like a kind of pinky violet sort of head there. Just let the camera zoom in on that and let you see it, but it's a lovely looking head there. In terms of colour, I think it's fair to describe this beer as a sort of very dark wine, red wine and blackcurranty sort of thing. A lovely sort of dark, what would we say, like a maroon burgundy, something like that. Really not sure, but it's a very dark sort of blackberry, blackcurranty, red wine sort of colour, this one. But yeah, 1 or 2 bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, just 1 or 2 little ones going up toward the bottom of the head. But I mean, overall, it looks very nice. So remember, when it comes to the colour of your beer, it depends on 1, the type of malts that you're going to use, 2, the length of your wort boil is also going to play a role. But when it comes to big, fruity, juicy sour beers like this, it's often the adjuncts and the barrel aging that are going to determine the colour there. So I mean, when you've got black currants in here, blueberries and strawberries, it makes sense that you're going to get this lovely dark colour to it. And when we shine the light through it, it does have a little bit of a lighter edge to it, but you can see this beer is pretty damn hazy actually. So yeah, I do like how this one, I do like how it goes together. But yeah, nothing particularly surprising about the appearance of this beer when you consider what style it is, and if you have experience of the Elmeleven beers before, you know, this is pretty much what you would expect from them. A lovely, beautiful, colourful sour beer like this. So yeah, I think it looks very nice. So let's take a closer look at the aroma of this one then, and just see how we go with that. I don't think we need to say anything more about the appearance of this beer. It looks the part for sure. Oh man, I love these aromas. Now, as I've said in previous, reviews of these kind of sour beers, I always find the aromas of these very, very straight shooting. But if they're done correctly, they're just lovely. And you know, Elmeleven are just. I feel that I can't really praise these guys enough. They've been, for me, they've been one of the finds of the last, the last year or two. These guys are really top class at what they do. Anders really knows what he's doing with these big sour beers, of course. But yeah, aroma-wise, this is just, this is absolutely lovely. So, it's everything that you would expect. I mean, we'll focus on the malty side of this beer first off. So yeah, you've got a lovely, you do have this lovely kind of bread crusty backbone to the beer, so I really, really like that. That's quite minimal though, and I would say on top of that, you do get a fair little bit of white bread in there, but you know, it's all about those kind of sort of yogurty kind of notes there. You can smell the vanilla out of this, and it gives you this impression of like a petit filou yogurt type thing, but the oaty creaminess is really kind of shining through in this one. It's a big, creamy, you know, sort of smoothie, milkshakey type base that you've got in this one. So yeah, bit of bread crust and white bread underneath, but a lot of vanilla, big, just creamy, milkshakey qualities. And then, you know, at the back of the nose, you can, in fairness, get a wee touch of the kind of slightly wheaty bitiness, but that's very, very minimal. The malt base in this one is very smooth and very, very sweet, actually. Yeah, these beers are just absolutely lovely. Yeah, aroma-wise, they're just spot on, absolutely spot on. You know, one of the things with these beers as well that I talk about quite often, these big fruity juicy sour beers that you get here in the Scandinavian and the Nordic countries, quite a few of them don't tend to use hops. And you know, when it comes to sour beers, back in the day, they would always use old hops so that the bitterness wouldn't take away from the sour character. So yeah, there's usually in Anders beers he never really puts hops in them because he says he doesn't feel it really adds anything into the flavour, and that's the case with this one. But at the same time, I always find you get a little bit of a placebo effect with these beers. You always just get a little bit of a green component out of them. So with this one, I definitely still get a wee bit of a kind of grassiness out of it. So there's a wee teeny bit of earthiness, a little bit of floral character, and a wee bit of grassiness for sure. But I really, really like how this beer goes about itself. And yeah, there is just always a wee bit of grassiness and stuff when it comes to these beers, but it's pretty much placebo. It's not coming from the hops at all. We'll be very, very clear about that. But the fruity side of this one is really, really nice, and it's everything that you'd expect. So the vanilla kind of yogurty side of this beer really mixes in with the fruit. So you've got a lovely little bit of strawberry in there. You've got some nice juicy. You can get the blackcurrants as well. I think the strawberry is forming the backbone of the beer, and the blackcurrants are kind of sitting on top and giving you a lot of the juiciness out of it. So the strawberry and the blackcurrants are forming the kind of juicy part of this beer, but the blueberries are really giving you a little bit of tartness there. So at the front of the nose, you definitely get this big kind of juicy tartness out of it, but at the same time, the tartness isn't too sharp and it's not too like cloying or anything like that. It's just really nicely balanced, and again, that's one of the things that I like about these Elmeleven beers is they've just got a little bit of tartness to them, but the juiciness you get out of them is just spot on always. Yeah, this might be my favourite aroma that I've had from Elmeleven so far, actually. But in fairness, a lot of the beers are actually quite similar in a lot of ways. So it's difficult. This is one of these breweries where, as I've explained, they do pretty much the same style all the time, but you're always guaranteed a new beer, and it's difficult to pick a favourite from them, but you know that you're going to get a good beer from them, so you keep going back to them. That's one of these breweries for me. That's Elmeleven. But yeah, as I say, a little bit of the blueberry tartness on the front of the nose, but behind that you get the black currants and the juicy strawberries. It's a lovely, lovely smelling beer, this one. I really like how this goes together. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think it's about time that we had a taste of this one then. So let me just put the last of this into the glass. This is going to be a lovely, lovely beer. But as I said, this one is a little bit of a special date, this beer. So this one I have saved for Christmas Eve. For me, Christmas Eve, the 24th of December. That's it. So yeah, the 24th of December is Christmas Eve for me, but in Sweden and the Nordic countries and many places across the world, this is the main celebration. So a Merry Christmas to everyone who's watching, and thank you for your support over the last year. So we're going to celebrate this with Elmeleven, Worlds That Never Were. 7.5% fruited sour ale with blackcurrants, blueberries, strawberry and vanilla. I think this is going to be awesome. So let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah. Once again, beautiful, beautiful beer. So, Anders, you're knocking them out the park, man. Very, very good. One thing I will say about this though, I actually expected this beer to be a little bit sort of, to be a little bit less tart than it is. I thought it was going to be more kind of roundy than juicy, but it really, I would say the flavour of this one really shows quite a bit more tartness than I was expecting it to, just from the aroma. The aroma came across very, very smooth and very creamy, but as I say, beautiful beer actually. It's always the thing, you'll get a few nuances from the aroma that are different from the actual flavour of the beer, but this is absolutely lovely. So big thumbs up to Elmeleven once again here. So, yeah. Where do we start with this one? I mean, again, it's just such a well done sour beer, this one. Just big and thick and creamy. Lovely big juicy fruitiness to it. You've got a bit of sweetness there in the adjuncts as well. And you have that wee bit of tartness to it. It gives you everything you would want from a kind of modern sour beer actually. I've heard some people talking about a particular style bracket called the Nordic sour, and that's quite an interesting one. But quite a lot of the beers you get from Elmeleven tend to be sort of berry focused. But I would love to see Anders, do some things with, random fruits, like do a bit of dragon fruit or, cloudberry. I'd love to see him do a cloudberry one. If he could get a hold of enough cloudberries to do it, that would be awesome. So yeah, but even when we've had the ones that have been a little bit more yellow fruit based, like mango and apricot based ones, they've always been very, very good. But yeah, Anders knows what he's doing with these big beers, but beautiful stuff. Let's break the flavour of this one down then and just describe it for you as we always do. But again, this beer is really, really good. So on the malty side of things then, across the middle third of your palate and the back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of a kind of bread crusty thing in there. So I really do like how that goes together, but that's quite minimal. That takes a back seat to the other things. But I will say, the further you go into the aftertaste, you do get a wee bit of that bread crusty character just lingering there. But yeah, nice, smooth, white bready sort of thing coming out of this one, and I do like how that goes together. And then on top of that, you can feel the oats and the wheat doing their thing. This one have a bit of rye in it. I'm sure I had one from them before, had a little bit of rye in it, but this one doesn't actually. So yeah, I just wondered if the rye might have been giving it a little bit of that bread crusty character, but no. So yeah, let's focus on the middle third of your palate then. So you've got a little bit of that kind of bread crusty character in there. You've got the nice kind of smooth white bread sitting on top of it. You can feel the wheat just thickening that out, and the wheat in this beer is really, really smooth. And then if you go toward the front of that, if you go along to the front of that middle third of your palate, that's where you get all the nice vanilla qualities. So you can feel on top of the wheaty layer of this beer, you've got that big kind of oat, pardon me, that big oaty circle coming out of this one. And within that, you've got all the vanilla flavours. And the way that the oat and the wheats and the vanilla go together in this beer, it really is quite like, you do have like you do have that, just that kind of petit filou, fruity yogurt type thing coming out of this one. As I said, I don't find these beers to be the most complex in terms of the flavour profiles and stuff, but if they're done well, they're just really, really nice beers. And I think, you know, I found that with Elmeleven, Fermenterna, Morgendagens and other ones, of course. But yeah, these are just lovely, lovely beers actually, and I always enjoy having one or two of these kind of sour beers a month actually. It's a nice change of pace from drinking IPAs and imperial stouts all the time, but this is a beautiful example once again. So yeah, I think we've said everything we really need to about the middle third of your palate, so let's focus on the back third of the palate then. One thing I would say about this is I actually do get one or two little woody flavours coming out of this the further into the aftertaste that I go. But yeah, there's a nice little bit of on the back third of your palate for sure. You do get a little bit more of a kind of grainy bread crusty note there. And remember, the more bitter flavours come out on the back of the palate rather than further forward. But yeah, on top of that, you get a nice kind of you get a slightly thicker white bready note out of it. There's a little bit of a wheaty character in there as well, but then sitting on top of that, yeah, you can feel a little bit of yeastiness in there, so you feel a little bit more of a kind of dense and slightly grainy bready character in there. There's a wee bit of a sort of crackery thing, I think, in there as well, but yeah, you can definitely feel the yeasty layer just sitting on top of that. So bread crust, like we said, a thicker white bready note there, a little bit of the wheat, a wee bit of bitiness off the wheat incidentally at the very back of the palate, and then you've got the yeasty character on top of that. But as I usually say, and the back third of your palate, the flavour just feels a little bit taller. As you come further forward, it condenses down a wee bit, and the flavours are a wee bit more squashed together in that middle third of your palate. So I really like how that goes together for sure. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things, you've got a nice little bit. I say hoppy. Correct myself there again. Like I say, this beer doesn't have hops, but on the hoppy placebo side of things, I always do find you get a green component out of these beers. It doesn't make a difference. But yeah, in the back corner of the palate, I do get a little bit of earthiness there, and then it's almost a little bit herbal as you come further forward, almost a little bit woody as well. I always find this, if you get a bit of, if you get these kind of fruity, brambly adjuncts in the beer, they're always going to give you a little bit of a kind of woody, earthy sort of vibe. But yeah, I do get a little bit of earthiness there in the back corners of the palate, a little bit of herbal quality as you come further forward, but round the front curve of the tongue, you definitely get a wee bit of grassiness there, and this is where the really tart aspects of the beer come out. But let's focus on that front third of your palate and the fruity side of the beer then. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, again, you get a little bit of a bready build up there. The base of the front third of your palate is a nice kind of smooth bread. There's a wee bit of bread crust and a bit of white bread on top of it. Then you've got all these fruity, juicy esters on top. Now remember, when you add fruit into beer as an adjunct, it's always going to suppress a little bit of the green component. So even if you do have hops in these beers, quite often a bit of the green component is just suppressed by the fruity juiciness there, and you can feel the fruity characters kind of spreading around the edge of your palate where that green component would normally be. But yeah, sitting on top of the nice smooth bready notes there, it is kind of as what I picked up in the aroma. So you've got a nice little bit of the juicy strawberry coming out of this one. So for me, on the front third of your palate, the strawberry forms the sort of base layer, then the blackcurrants kind of sit on top of that. But I think the blackcurrants become a little bit more intense towards the back half of that, front third of your palate. But then as you move toward the kind of front half of the front third of your palate, it's all about the blueberries. The blueberries are giving you that big sharp tartness in this beer. And like I said, I thought that this, it might just be because I've not had one of these beers in quite a wee while, but I do find this one a little bit more tart than some of the other ones I remember from Elmeleven before. But yeah, that, as I say, it could just be because I've not had something from them in a couple of months, which is too long. But yeah, definitely a wee bit sharper and tarter, this one, on the very front half of the front third of your palate. So that goes together really well in my opinion. So yeah, I really like how that goes together in this one. The fruity side of this beer is just is absolutely lovely. But like I say, around the front edge of the palate, you can feel some of the, it feels like the strawberry and the blackcurrants are the things that are just spreading around the kind of front sides of your palate there. And again, that goes really well, that goes together really nicely, and it just adds to the depth of the beer. But like I said, these beers for me, they're quite straight shooting in terms of their flavour profile, but if they're done well, they're just lovely, lovely beers, and this one certainly fits that descriptor quite nicely in my opinion. So yeah, I don't actually think there's anything else we really need to say about the flavour of this one. The only other thing that kind of comes to mind is that I find this beer a little bit kind of drier and grainier compared to some of the other ones that I remember from Elmeleven. But as I say, I've not had a beer from these guys in a couple of months, and your palate is always evolving, you know. I might have said something different about this beer had I had one last month or something as well. But yeah, lovely, lovely beer regardless. So big thumbs up to Anders once again. Let's round off this review with a little look at the mouthfeel then and see how we go. So, yeah, I would say that this beer is quite, it's kind of bottom end of full-bodied, top end of mid-bodied. Carbonation is very, very smooth. It's got a very kind of silky, creamy, smooth mouthfeel to it. It's, you know, the mouthfeel in this is absolutely lovely. If we're I can't really think of the other Elmeleven beers to compare it to, but it is similar to what we've had from them before. Once again, but yeah, you would expect this sort of mouthfeel from Elmeleven, to be honest with you. In terms of IBUs, I think technically speaking, this beer is a 0 IBU beer, but there will be a little touch of that. I do get a wee bit of earthy bitterness in the back kind of corners of the palate, and I think that comes from the I think that comes a bit from the yeastiness, to be honest with you. But yeah, lovely kind of smooth malt base in this one. It does have a degree of sweetness there. The vanilla really gives you a little bit of sweetness, but a wee bit of dryness, smoothness in the middle, a little bit of a kind of sweetness from the vanilla as well. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer is quite nice. So yeah, I think the strawberry blackcurranty notes that you get out of this are very, very juicy, but you've also got that really nice sharp tartness from the blackcurrant as well. So from the blueberry, sorry. So this beer really does have a lovely balance between the kind of juicy or sweeter side of the fruits and then the sharp tartness in there as well. Like I say, from memory, I think this one is a wee bit more tart than some of the ones we've had from Elmeleven previously. But yeah, I think this is really nice. It's up to the standards I would expect of Elmeleven, and it's another really, really nice one, in fact. So again, a big thumbs up to Anders. So yeah, this one, I think we can round off the review there. This one is The Worlds That Never Were, 7.5% fruited sour beer, once again from Elmeleven, with blackcurrants, blueberries, strawberry and vanilla. And I think it goes together really well. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Elmeleven. And like I said, we will return to these guys at some point soon. I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys are going to do in the future. But if you're into your big fruity juicy sour beers, Elmeleven are one of the ones that you definitely want to check out. And I will be seeing about filming a Meet the Brewery video with Anders at some point next year. We really need to get that redone because of that bloody GoPro. But yeah, check out this beer when you get the chance and try some of their other stuff too. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Make sure you check out Elmeleven from Arlöv near Malmö here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Slange, skål, cheers, and have a happy Christmas.